95.5 KLOS. This is Emo, and we have a very special guest today. You can hear him daily, KLOS at midnight, the godfather of shock rock himself, Alice Cooper.
Thank you, Emo.
Thank you so much for being here.
You are not emo at all.
What are you talking about?
No, you're effervescent.
Well, thank you. I did have this name before, all the emo kids came around and ruined it, but just kidding. That's okay. Well, you have a lot of fun LA happenings coming up. You got the KLOS Halloween midday takeover.
Right.
You got the Forum with Judas Priest.
Right.
You got your show, of course.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about just some of your wildest and craziest LA stories.
Well, and this was the place to come for that.
I would think so.
We were here during the golden years.
Yeah.
We lived up in Benedict Canyon, and my next door neighbor on the right was Elton, and my next door neighbor on the left side was Rick Ocasek and his wife. But every house was insane up there, and it was at a time where every single night you go out to a different restaurant or a different club, and it was really a fun time. It's when bands were really glamorous.
Yeah. Just everywhere you walk, you never know who you're going to run into and what stories are going to happen that night.
Oh yeah, and it was New York had the same scene with Max's Kansas City and how Studio 54 and places like that. But LA, it was a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
LA was a little bit more laid back than New York was.
And then San Francisco had the whole hippie, countercultural free spirit movement going on.
Yeah.
And then LA had a little bit of that, but it was a huge mixture. You also had what they referred to as freaks.
Well, yeah, but you had you got the whole glam thing here because the movie stars mixed in with the rock and rollers.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was something very glamorous about Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
We ended up at the Rainbow every night, and pretty soon the waitress there, her name was Shotzi, she says, you guys come here every night and drink. I only see you at night, and all you do is drink. You're like a bunch of vampires. And we all went, yeah, that's good, the Hollywood vampires. See, so I'm going to put you up in this loft. And it was Harry Nilsson, Keith Moon when he was in town, John Lennon, Mickey Dolenz, myself. It was like Ringo, whoever showed up was part of the vampires. And it was really a fun club. It was sort of like Last Man Standing.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever was last paid the bill.
And Keith Moon being in the club, that must have itself just led to so many wild times.
No, I could tell you probably 100 stories. Harry Nilsson could have told you 100 different ones.
Yeah.
Ringo could have told you 100 different ones. Keith was certainly the clown prince of rock and roll, and probably certifiably insane, but also the best drummer I ever heard.
Yes.
He was really an amazing drummer. I came home one time to my house, and I opened the door, and Cheryl, my wife, and I were just married. She's 18 years old. And he's standing there in a full French maid's outfit with a duster. And he goes, I have cleaned the whole house. May I have the night off, Monsieur Cooper? And I went, well, of course. And my wife goes, who is this? Because she had no idea. And I said, oh, it's Keith. It's okay. He'd come and stay at your house for a month. And then he'd go to Harry's house for a month. But he was so much fun. You'd be driving down Laurel Canyon, and all of a sudden, hello, and he's on the roof of your car. There were just so many stories. And with the vampires, what he would do, he'd go to Western costume almost every night. And one night, he comes in as the Queen of England. Hello. The next night, he is a Groucho Marx version of Hitler.
Oh my
he's
gosh.
like Hitler, but he's got the Grouchos, every night. And we would just stand there and applaud.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. And you really knew everybody at that time. LA was just the perfect hub for rock and roll at that time. And you were involved in so much of it, from the Doors. I know the Doors kind of took you under their wing.
Yeah, we were
very,
very good friends with the Doors. And that was such a great thing because we were nothing. We were a band from Phoenix, and yet they let us come in and watch them record, and we got to know each other. Robbie Krieger, in fact, just played on my last album.
Yeah, that's right.
And Robbie still plays more. He's got the most unique sound of anybody out there. And of course, the other one, Ray, is gone. And Jim is gone. But we opened for them for a while, and that's when I used to drink with Jim a lot. What Robbie said, he came into a theater in Oregon one time, and they're going to have their sound check, and Jim and I are hanging from the balcony to see who could hang on the longest.
Oh my gosh!
Now, if we would have fallen, and it must have had something to do with the bottle of whiskey.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we might not have been having this conversation right now.
That's right.
And then going back to your early days when you first moved here with the Spiders, what was that like? Because I can't imagine you had much money and much of a plan yet.
No. See, we were the best band in Phoenix. And what happens is when you're the best band in Phoenix, you can only go so far. Mm-hmm. And then you go, well, where are the record companies? They're in L.A. We got to go to L.A. So we go to L.A. thinking we're going to just, take over. Mm-hmm. Every band from every city that was the best band in that city is in L.A. now.
Wow.
All vying for maybe 5 or 6 clubs to play in to get discovered. Mm-hmm. And so, it was just like clawing your way to try to get to the smallest club, And it was a lot of starving. But at the same time, it was great. It's back when you're 20 years old, 21 years old, and you're bulletproof. You could go 4 days without eating.
Yeah, weren't you sleeping at Griffith Park too on the benches?
Oh, we did any place we could. Yeah, we would send our one guitar player, Mike Bruce, was sort of our Romeo guy. He would pick up a girl, right, and then we would end up crashing at her house.
Everybody.
Yeah, and we were smart enough to only take $20 out of her wallet. Because she would never miss that. But $20 would feed the band for a couple days. That
builds up a little bit.
Yeah. So honestly, it was a matter of survival. And but you always waited for that one moment when somebody was going to go. Mm-hmm. And you were at the right place at the right time with the right thing. Mm-hmm. And that's the only way it works.
And that happened to you with Frank Zappa, right?
With Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa saw us, and didn't get it, didn't understand us. He says, I don't get it. And I said, what do you mean you don't get it? He says, well, your songs don't make any sense. Your image doesn't make any sense. He said, where are you from, San Francisco? I said, no, we're from Phoenix. And he goes, now I really don't get it. So he signed us. Because he says, I'm Frank Zappa and I don't get it. He said, that's startling.
Yeah, if he doesn't get it. And he auditioned you at the Log Cabin, right?
That's right.
And didn't you show up 12 hours early?
7 in the morning, which was wrong. It was supposed to be 7 at night. But Frank was great. He let us be us. Mm-hmm. On the first album, he said, I don't want to do any arranging. He said, I want you to play these songs live in the studio because people are not going to believe that you can do these complicated little songs live. And we did the whole album in 3 days.
That's amazing. Yeah. And then you went from, you cleared out a whole room because people were a little afraid to then
we were scary. People were into acid at the time. And we were not, we were much more into horror and which way before goth, and that kind of thing. And people we terrified them, But we had this image now where we were the most notorious band.
Yeah. How did that transition happen where you went from scaring everyone away to being one of those most popular bands on the Sunset Strip?
Our producer, came in, saw us play at Max's Kansas City. And went, oh, wait a minute. He said, I understand what this is. And he says, I can make this band. I can take these songs. There's a lot of good parts. Mm-hmm. He says, put them into playable parts that you could hear on the radio. Mm-hmm. So the very first hit was 18. And 18 was a jam that we used to do. And he says, I want you to just turn it into 3 minutes. And he just kept taking things out of it till it was so simple that you couldn't deny it. And it was our first hit. And then after that, School's Out was a monster. So that was our That was ours. Everybody gets one song they're going to be known for forever.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking about the Stones, I think it was probably Satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking about the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand. Everybody had that one song that was always going to be connected to them, and ours was School's Out.
That actually, when I was in elementary school, that was kind of what I was known for. It was my thing. Every last day of school, that is what I would sing and run around the school singing that.
Yeah, because it applied to every kid in every school. And it's the same thing with 18. When you did 18, I'm 18, I don't know what I want, and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And every kid went, I'm 18 and I'm confused, but it's cool.
Yeah, it was so relatable to everyone, and especially, you really captured with School Is Out that just amazing feeling of when the bell rings on that last day of class.
And every generation understands it.
Yeah.
So when you get an anthem is something that will work 50 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
50 years from now, if a 16-year-old kid hears My Generation by The Who, they go, oh, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I hope I die before I get old. There's something about that you can't deny.
Yeah, the timeless factor.
Yeah.
And speaking of School Is Out, on that School Is Out tour at the Hollywood Bowl, that was the infamous moment with the helicopters. I want to hear about that.
Okay, so we decided School's Out. If a kid opens his desk, which was the album cover,
mm-hmm.
and he could produce a pair of panties on Monday morning at 15, and you can go, that means everybody thinks that you've scored, right? Probably your sister's panties that you put in there. But we've wrapped the record in panties. And it was, people just loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was and so when we did the Hollywood Bowl, we had a helicopter come over and drop panties on the entire audience. And Elton and Bernie were there. And Elton was grabbing these panties and everything like this. And then after that, they found out that, we would use anything for a publicity stunt, that the panties were not fireproof. And I'm going, who's going to light a cigarette down here, first of all? And so now the panties got banned. And I've seen those go for now. If you have an original pair of them.
Oh, they're so expensive.
It's ridiculous.
They're so hard to find. I've tried.
Yeah.
Wait, did any of them actually catch on fire, or they were just scared of that happening?
No.
Okay. And then Elton John, is it true that he said that specific show really influenced him and his stage antics?
Well, Elton was playing the troubadour, and he was a great piano player, and he was this and this. And I think, that he mentioned to it one time that he saw the appeal of being a lot more than just a piano player.
Mm-hmm.
He, the next time I saw him, he was in a duck outfit in Dodger Stadium. His records were so good,
mm-hmm.
and he was such a good player. And he had that in him. He had that theatricality in him already. So just let it loose, and he became Elton John,
mm-hmm.
this character that everybody just loved,
mm-hmm.
because he wasn't just a piano player. Now he was an entity.
Yeah.
And it may have had some influence on him, that
Yeah.
show, because it was very theatrical. But all the guys back there, Bowie,
mm-hmm.
We never had a problem with each other. People wanted there to be some kind of row because he came out and became this glam image and all this,
mm-hmm.
and he used to come to our shows in London, and he would look at it and go, tell his band, this is what we need to do,
Yeah.
And he created Ziggy Stardust,
mm-hmm.
and I thought that was great, because it didn't have anything to do with Alice Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
He became the space guy. Elton became this piano, bigger than life guy.
Mm-hmm.
Alice Cooper was Alice Cooper. Later on, Kiss was Kiss. Everybody took on a personality.
Mm-hmm.
And a visual personality. When they walked in the room, you knew who it was. It wasn't just a band. Oh, that's,
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
mm-hmm. It added this element of just fun, being able to not just play your music, but to make it a actual, a story, a performance. And,
your own world.
Yeah, exactly.
You went to see a Bowie show, you went into his world.
Yes.
You went to see an Alice show, you went into Alice's nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very creative. I always loved that, the fact that bands were creating their own world, you know. But everybody always thought that I was going to be really angry because people were doing what we were doing. I said, yeah, but they're not doing what we're doing. They're doing their own version of their songs. I said, that's fine with me. I don't have any problem with anybody.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you got to get influenced somewhere.
I was enjoying it. I thought Bowie was great, and I thought Kiss later on, Kiss, I thought, man, they created their own world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I love all that. And I know nowadays, you got the guillotine, you got a million people on stage, a million characters, you got the snake, the giant Frankenstein. So, it would make it a little bit more difficult to play those venues you started with, like the Whiskey and
it would be very
the
hard.
Roxy. But is there, what do you miss about playing those kind of Sunset Strip spots?
We put the Hollywood Vampires together to be a bar band. It was I did the movie Dark Shadows with Johnny.
Yes,
Depp.
One of my favorites.
Johnny's a really good guitar player. I mean, not just sort of a guitar player. He's a pretty good guitar player. And we had a big jam in London one night. And I said, why don't you come over after the shoot tonight? And, after we shot the day and sit in with us. And he goes, okay. So he shows up and he can really play. I was curious to hear him play. We did every cover, you could imagine at the 100 Club on Oxford Street there. And that night, I said, it would be fun to put a band together to just play covers, And he says, yeah, let's do that. And Joe Perry goes, I'm in. So Joe Perry now and Johnny Depp and Duff McKagan, I'm in. So he got a Guns N' Roses. Pretty soon we had this band that was ridiculous. So our first show was at the Roxy, 300 people there, but everybody showed up, and everybody ended up on stage.
Yeah.
Our second show pretty much was Rock in Rio, 300,000 people. Now,
what a jump.
Here's the funny part. Duff, Joe, and I had been in front of that many people many times. Johnny hadn't. His band, played clubs. So he's standing there, a little bit deer in the headlights. And I said, Johnny, you're a rock star. I said, just be a rock star. Just get out and do it. And he was great. He kind of laid back. He wanted to be the laid back guy. And I said, no. I said, when you're playing the lead, you take the stage. And he nailed it. And he became really, really what he loves to do is rock and roll.
I can't imagine Johnny Depp being nervous for being in front of people.
No,
that's so funny.
But when you look out and it's an ocean of people, I said, what's the difference between drowning in a foot of water or 1,000 feet of water? You're still drowning. I said, what's the difference between playing 100 people or 100,000? It's the same show.
Yeah.
You just have more people to like it. People always think, well, they're not going to like it. They said, no, they're going to love it.
Well, I love that. That's amazing. And I want to, we talked about a little bit about all the stage antics. You got your snake, of course. And I read a story about a show at the House of Blues in L.A. Where your snake had a little accident.
Okay.
Can we hear about that?
So we had the Sex Pistols there. And the Kiss was there. And it was just a little, and I take the snake out. And all of a sudden I realize the audience is laughing. We're in a place where they shouldn't be laughing. The snake was defecating. Now, it's white.
Ew.
And it's the worst smell you have ever smelled. At this point in the show, this show was about sort of a carnival. So all the roadies were dressed like clowns, demented clowns. So they're out there wiping up this stuff. And it's so awful that they start gagging and throwing up.
Oh,
so now
no.
I've got clowns throwing up. I've got snakes defecating, and none of it's planned. At the end of the show, Johnny Rotten comes up and says, greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, people probably thought it was a part of the show.
And I told him, I said, I know just where to touch this snake to make him go like that. And
Then you made it a part of your regular performances.
No, we could never do that again. But everybody loved the fact that they were there the night that happened.
That's amazing. I love anyone who came that didn't really know who you were, but maybe their friend brought them.
Yeah.
And that is their first experience.
It was disgusting. I'm telling you, because it was all over my, and it was honest. I can't describe how horrible it smelled.
I cannot imagine. It was just everything that was also going on.
Yeah, in that snake.
Well, Alice, thank you so much for hanging out with us today and for all the LA story time. This has been.
There's so many more.
Oh my gosh, I know.
We'll do it again.
Okay, we'll have to do it again to fit more because I know it's just never ending. But we're so excited that you're doing the Halloween midday takeover from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Absolutely. That's my day.
Yes, that's your day, nobody else's.
That's right.
And then don't forget also, Alice is playing with Judas Priest October 9th at the Forum. And keep listening to Alice's Attic daily on KLOS at midnights. Thank you again, Alice.
Thank you, Emo.